Okay, so good evening. Let us start today's colloquium, today's asset colloquium. As you would have seen, it's indeed a very special one, given by a very special person. You will see why I have been saying this every time he visits this institute back, and every thought that is coming up is like a big book on the particular topic that he's going to talk about, and today's won't be anything different than that. I'm talking about Professor Arun Kumar, who is the currently Honorary Professor of Physics at the Punjab Engineering College. Of course, rest of the introduction you know much better, but to make the introduction much more accessible to people who are on social media, I would request none other than Professor Sunil Gupta, who is very close friend of Grover, and more than that, who has, of course, spent a lot of time with him. And so I request formally Gupta to introduce today's speaker. Thank you.
Thanks, Satya. My remarks may be a little bit incoherent because Satya just asked me 15 minutes back. But this is such an honor that I cannot refuse. Of course, Arun and I go back a long way back, more than 4 decades. Arun was 4 years my senior in TIFR. As you know, he has been a very distinguished condensed matter physicist who used to be known as a solid state physicist when he began the career. And later on, it came to be known as condensed matter physics. And in 2012, after nearly 40 years of very distinguished research career in TIFR, during which he was awarded several, he received several honors. Many of them are listed in the poster outside, but I'll just mention a couple. He was the winner of Brooker Young Scientist Award in 1982, soon after his PhD. And he received recognition from many, many institutions, including Homi Bhabha Award of Department of Atomic Energy in 1991. And of course, he is a member of many of our distinguished academies, including National Academy of Sciences and Indian Academy. He also, besides research, he has also been very active in many other aspects of scientific research. So in late 80s, there was a situation in TIFR when things were not going very well. It was not clear what the policy was, what the norms were, and we had all kinds of problems. And it was around Arun that many of us gravitated, and we then we got in touch with our management of the day, including council, to set up specific norms which are still in practice today. That is what should be the entry-level positions, how people should be evaluated, how frequently that should happen, and so on and so forth. And I think things after that changed for better, I believe. And in 2012, Arun accepted a very important position. He became Vice Chancellor of Punjab University in Chandigarh, which is funded, by Center. I was not very happy about it because, I always used to tell everybody that, Punjab University's gain is TIFR's loss. But before he left, I think many of you will remember that in 2009, the centenary of Homi Bhabha fell, and Arun was tasked with this responsibility of organizing this event. And what a magnificent job he did. He invited distinguished scholars, scientists, policymakers, artists, you name it, thought leaders, and so on and so forth. And we had 2 years of phenomenal events, one after another. And that greatly raised the profile of TIFR. But if I have to summarize Arun, I would say at the end of the day, he's a problem solver. One of the common complaints many of us have is when you go to somebody and you have a problem, they tell, well, this cannot be done, that cannot be done. If you go to Arun, he will say, how about if you try this? How about you try that? If that doesn't work, try that. So if any problem you present, he will have at least 3 possible solutions, and 1, maybe even 2 of them might work. So that is one of the great qualities of Arun. which I think our science policy makers have recognized. So his advice is being sought through various committees, academies, and so on in framing science policy in our country. Some of it is heard and some of it happens behind the scenes, so we don't come to know unless you have an opportunity to sit down face to face with Arun. And that has also come, along with that has come international recognition. Arun is currently a member of IUPAC Commission C14, which is on education. And I know that his contribution there is highly valued because I had the opportunity of interacting with the current president of IUPAC and who speaks very highly of Arun. And I know he does reach out to him when he has specific needs. And then finally, I want to mention one more aspect of Arun, which some of you may know, but many of you may not. You know, when we sit down, we talk, we say so many different things. And while everybody is coming up with ideas which are divergent, sometimes, you know, maybe not even related, Arun will sit down with a paper and a pencil and he'll start scribbling down. Okay. While the hour-long discussion is going on, there's a 2-paragraph note which is ready. And all you have to do is type it out or send, you know, type it in form of email and send it out. And that is the final version. So this great ability he has to condense important critical ideas, distill their essence and present in a form that anybody can understand. And I think we are going to see an example of that in the talk that is about to be delivered. And I have had the opportunity of course, interacting with Arun, benefiting from him, learning from him. And I consider him to be one of my mentors. So I won't take any more of your time. Thank you very much. Arun, stage is yours.
Good evening, all, and thank you, Satya and Sunil, for a very, very generous introduction. And one thing I deserve all of this, but it's always said, I'm here for a task today. And so at the outset, let me state that I sought this colloquium because I wanted to be there to felicitate Satya before he was superintendent. So I'm thankful to Satya and the Dean NSF who allowed me to come. I could have given this talk online, but I wanted to be there. And thank you both Satya and the Dean NSF. So I have known Satya for very long, over 30 years. But we came close during the commemoration of birth centenary period of Honorary. It's not a year. We commemorated it for a period of 3 years. Actually, when the centenary year was to approach, I told Mustan sir that every institute has a foundation day. But PIFR does not commemorate foundation day. PIFR was founded on 1st of June 1945 in IISc. Though the records in TIFR will say, oh, the TIFR was inaugurated on 19th of December 1945, there is his photograph from giving a speech, this, that, and so on. But TIFR actually was founded on 1st of June 1945. So I said, we must celebrate that first year of the year. So we got hold of Dr. Kapoor, the then chairman of Atomic Commission, and we told him that you must present an update on Bhaba's dream of having 3-stage nuclear cycle and be self-sufficient in producing power via the nuclear power in India. So Katodkar obliged, he gave a wonderful colloquium. It was published and very well circulated all across India. So thereafter, I met Satya and told that you run this asset colloquia. So we must have one asset colloquia per month where we invite a national icon who will give us an update on one of the missions of India. So for every month we have this special asset colloquia and 24 asset colloquia we held, and that is a repository of what India was in 2009. Okay, so that was You can well calculate, it was about 60 years of India. Anyway, so that gave me connectivity all across India because I hosted so many people. I hosted a large number of people. Then I was a part of the organizing committee of 26 symposia held by TIFR over 2 years. I was a member of every committee as a coordinator of, as a convener of the Bhumi Bhava Center. So I had fantastic connectivity all across India, and that proved very useful when I was asked to serve as a VC of Punjab University. So during that commemoration period, I happened to meet Ashok Sani, whose grandfather was Ruchi Ram Sani. And Ruchi Ram Sani was a mentor of Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar. Ruchi Ram Sani was also father of Birbal Sani, the first FRS in India to be in the field of botany. Bhatnagar was the first FRS in India in the field of chemistry. So Ruchi Ram Sani was an important person, and he is known to be the popularizer of science in Punjab. And incidentally, he was the first postgraduate in science of University of Punjab at Lahore in the year 1886. And he also was the first, not the first, there were two people did MA in science, one in chemistry, one in physics, in the year 86 and 1886 and 87. Both of them were inducted into the faculty. The second person was Guru Dutt Vidyarthi, which known as Pandit Guru Dutt Vidyarthi, but actually it was Guru Dutt Vidyarthi, he was Guru Ditta Siddhana. And he and Ruchi Ram Sani went to the same school in a small town in Punjab. Later on, they got together to do intermediate in science at Government College Lahore. And they were the first two science graduates, and after that, for 15 years, nobody did a master's in science at Punjab University. But Guru Dutt Vidyarthi had a phenomenal memory like Vivekananda. He died very young, he was only 26 when he passed away. But he written in the age of 26 years in so many books in Sanskrit. He became a disciple of Dhyana, and he is the one who started the first DAV school in Lahore, and he is also the first DAV college in Lahore. He was also, in their class was also this Hansraj, who was the first principal of DAV College Lahore, and the principal of the school in College Lahore, and also Lala Lajpat Rai was in the same class. Okay, so this was a class of the year 81, 82 at Lahore, Government College Lahore, which had so many luminaries together. Lala Lajpat Rai was a great Arya Samaj leader, but he is also the one who was the founder of Punjab National Bank, Vidyal Singh Nigitiya, who also founded Tribune. Okay, so anyway, long story short, so I became aware of these people. I had known about Bhatnagar, how Bhatnagar helped Bhabha to stabilize TIFR. It's not Nehru who got the TIFR going, it is Bhatnagar who got the TIFR going, and I have spoken about it in this thing. And Dinesh Aswal is there, and he was the director of NPL, and I was the chair of the research council of NPL. And via him, I got lots and lots of access to the archives of NPL. Anyway, so at Punjab University VC, I started to learn about everything about India through the window of Lahore in pre-independent India. So everything I thought I had comprehended something, I approached Satya, and he allowed me to come and share this understanding with my colleagues. So the first colloquium was Ruchi Ram Sani to Bhabha to Birbal Sani and Shanti Swarup Bhatnagar. It was a perspective. So everything is a comprehension. That is why in the title I have written another comprehension. You might have noticed. So today's comprehension is a tale of Saha and Bhatnagar as science leaders. So that is the subtitle. But actually it is the same facts which I have slowly comprehended, trying to make a story. So this is how these stories are gone. So then evolution of education and research in pre and post independent India. Then AV Hill report, when the NEP came up, everybody said something new has happened. Once I figured it out, that, yeah, there are some things new, but this agenda had started long ago. Okay, there was a Sargent Committee report in the year 1944, and that was how to revamp school and colleges in India, as and when the war would end and India would become independent. So there is a continuity, and it is the same people, their students and grand students, they have been participating in writing various policies of education and research in India. So then I was chosen to speak by Vaya. He gave me this title, TIFR History and National Scenario. So I gave this talk. I was to come and speak about the scientific heritage of Punjab or West India. But something happened and I had to deliver this talk online. So I was very keen this time to come and be in person and not give today's talk online. So why today's story? So last year, the Government of India came up with Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act, 3 days before the last Independence Day. Okay, and what is this? This act, President also gave his consent to it, and this act has come after the end of the commemoration of Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav. That was commemorating whatever we have done, achieved over last 75 years. So, what is this ANRF? ANRF, in some sense, fulfills what the teacher scientists of India, okay, had articulated on September 27, 28 during a symposium convened by National Institute of Sciences at the prompting of Meghnad Saha. And they had got together, okay, to discuss how the scientific agendas of India should be set after the war. So, after this ANRF Act has come in, last week, just less than 5 days ago, the Government of India asked the science academies to tell them a strategy how to operationalize ANRF. Because the teacher scientist said there should be something like an ANRF. ANRF has been given. Now, purpose of the ANRF is to accelerate the process of development via science and technology in India, so that we have done something over 75 years, but in next 25 years, we should do as much as we did in 75 years, so that we should be a developed nation by 2047. That is the desire of the nation. So, and that can happen when everybody connected with the research participates. So, its government desires researchers in all domains, science, social scientists, in state universities of India, postgraduate colleges of India. Everybody should get involved in this national agenda. And under the NEP, you realize that undergraduate education is supposed to become 4 years. So, at the end of 4 years, people can register for research. So, there are large number of people who are being encouraged to reach the stage of research, and the contributions of all this must be enabled so that the pace of development can be accelerated. And for that, the Government of India wants an algorithm. They don't have an algorithm. So they have gone back to the teacher scientists of India and tell them, you wanted it, we are giving you now tell us what is to be done. So I participated in this exercise, and I'll come to that in the end, not in great details, but before that, let me tell you the history of all this, what all we were supposed to do. So, as I said, this is the tale of Saha and Bhatnagar as science leaders. And Saha and Bhatnagar had known each other since 1920s. Saha was a postdoc in London. Bhatnagar had gone there to do a PhD. This is how they met. So Saha and they traveled together to Germany to meet nuns in Berlin for a while. So they knew each other. They both returned.
But it's only 20 years later they got together to conceive this plan for Vikas, development and self-reliance. Okay, when the Second World War commenced in India. But before that, Saha had been involved in all these things. Saha, Subhash Chandra Bose was Saha's junior in Presidency College, so he knew him. So when Subhash Chandra Bose became the president of the Indian National Congress in January of 1938, okay, this Saha got this National Planning Committee, which was all in the air. So there was a Congress wanted to have a National Planning Committee. Vishwesvaraya was supposed to be the chair of that committee, but Saha maneuvered that no, someone who is a political leader should head this planning committee, otherwise it will not get implemented. And Nehru had run this campaign for Congress elections, and elections had been held in 11 states in India in 1937. 8 of them Congress had won. So Nehru was the political leader heading this campaign. So Saha got Nehru to be appointed as the chair of the planning committee. He himself was a member of that planning committee, planning for development of India. But it was a planning committee on behalf of the Congress. Nothing much happened. But the war came in 1939. And when the war came, so now the colonial government wanted to enlist the teacher scientists of India to aid the war efforts. Teacher scientists had sought support for research in India, but the British were only content in supporting the research for agriculture in India. Agriculture was on their agenda. That is why the Thomson College of Engineering, College of Civil Engineering, Roorkee was created in 1847 to lay the Ganga canals. Why lay the Ganga canals? Ganga canals were laid so that the present day Western UP can be irrigated. East India Company extended only up to Delhi. Beyond that was Ranjit Singh's empire. So Granary of India was under Ranjit Singh. It was not under the colonial government, and they wanted to create a large area as well irrigated and as well productive as Punjab. So that is how the Ganga canals were laid in the northwest of it, province of India. So Mr. Thomason was the Lieutenant Governor of Northwest, and Northwest ended at Delhi. So that is the support to the agriculture. Later on, they also opened 6 agricultural colleges in India in 1902. Long history to that. ICAR also came. Indian Agricultural Research, Imperial Agricultural Research Institute also came up in 1929. But no support to scientific and industrial research. That comes in only when the war starts, 1939. Okay. So war starts. So Bhatnagar is picked up to head the Board of Scientific and Industrial Research for a period of 2 years. Because they thought maybe war will end in 2 years period. Let's do something. So he was taken away from Lahore to Calcutta. Saha was already there. Saha was earlier at Allahabad University as a professor and head of physics. But he moved to Calcutta in 1938 when the Palit professorship got vacant, as D.M. Bose moved from that chair to head the Bose Institute because J.C. Bose had passed away in 1937. So any circumstances, Saha is back in Calcutta. Bhatnagar also reaches there, and Bhatnagar has 5 lakh rupees given to him to distribute to the teacher scientists of India in the universities to support the military research. So this is the backdrop of all this. So fine. So BSIR transformed to CSIR in 2 years later in September of 42. So another year later, as I told you, Saha got all the teacher scientists together via a symposium convened by President of the National Institute of Sciences, J.C. Ghosh, who was the then director of Indian Institute of Science as well, and he is the one who had succeeded Raman. So anyway, so they prepare a report, but how to persuade the colonial government to look at what they are saying. So Saha was very well networked. So he thought of this brilliant idea of inviting A.V. Hill, who was at that time an independent member of parliament from Cambridge. He was also representative of the Cambridge University in the House of Commons committee. He was also a member of the Science Advisory Committee of the War Cabinet. And Saha knew that Hill had been trying to enlist the the teacher scientists in India for aiding the war effort, and they were not very enthusiastic in just participating in the military research. So all the same, Hill was contacted and he agreed to come to India on a 4-month visit. He came and stayed in Bhatnagar's house in Delhi. Bhatnagar took him around all over the country. He listened to all the teacher scientists, absorbed everything. At the end of it, submitted a report to Government of India in August of 1944, which they didn't make it public. But Hill knew that something needs to be done. So in the October of 1947, after he had submitted the report and nothing was happening, he gave a speech when the Indian delegation was in England. He says, disaster awaits India if these recommendations are not implemented. Still nothing happened. So in 1945, he wrote a 4-page summary in Nature and made everything public. 45, the war ended, and now independence of India was imminent. Before the war ended, independence was not imminent. We thought maybe India would have a dominion status, but now the war, independence was imminent. Nehru was picked up to head the as a vice president of the Viceroy's Council. So he was effectively the head of the government under the colonial government. And he started to implement whatever was recommended. Okay, so what was recommended? So this is Saha for you. All of you are aware about Saha, how he was born on 6th of October in Dhaka, how he graduated in 1915 from Calcutta University. Within 2 years, he was awarded DSc degree. Then he went on a Premchand Royston Fellowship to England, came back, was a first Khara professor, moved to Allahabad, etc., etc. He had, of course, established his Science Academy in Allahabad in 1930. And as I told you, 38 that he comes back as Palit professor. After independence, he was member of the Education Commission, and then he was also the member of the Planning Commission as and when the Planning Commission got formed in India. And he also contested the Lok Sabha elections as an independent member, and like A.V. Hill, he won. And then he was a member of the Planning Commission, he became director of IACS, etc., etc. But he didn't live very long. He passed away in 1956. So this is Bhatnagar for you. They are both born. Bhatnagar was on 21st February, just 4 months difference. So Bhatnagar, as I told you, did a PhD in England. Okay. And he came back and joined the Banaras Hindu University. Actually, Malviya had invited both Bhatnagar and Saha as research professors in BHU. Saha didn't take it. He joined as a Khara professor. Bhatnagar accepted it, but after 3 years, he moved from Banaras to Lahore as the first director of the newly established University Chemical Laboratories. And now in 15 years, he did wonders there. He used to generate so much of money from his consultancy, and he did so many innovations that he used to support the research of his own research, pay for fellowship of all the students, and also pay for the fellowship of all of the students of University of Punjab at Lahore. That is the kind of money that he used to generate from research. So anyway, so this is why he was picked up to create CSIR. Okay, and he was a member, and we will see. He was the first secretary of higher education and also the first chairman of UGC in independent India. So this is a photograph which appeared in 2019 in an INSA book on Saha that was celebrating 125th birth year of Saha. And this is Acharya Praful Chandra Ray. This is Saha. This is Bhatnagar. When Ray was knighted in 1919, and after he became Sir Praful Chandra Ray, he went to England. Okay, when he went there, so he met all the Indian students and their supervisors. So this is a photograph taken on that occasion. And this is J.N. Mukherjee, who was second batchmate of Saha in Calcutta. This is Fowler, with whom Saha was working. This is Donnan, with whom Bhatnagar was working. So this, coincidentally, Bhatnagar, J.C. Ghosh and J.N. Mukherjee did their PhD together under J.N. Donnan from 1919 to 1921. The two of them already had one PhD from Calcutta. Bhatnagar had gone for his first PhD, but the other ones were there for the second PhD. Snehbhai Datta was a batchmate of Saha in Dhaka. That famous strike, both of them were together. So lots of very interesting things. So all right. So this is, I'm very fond of this photograph. This is, Saha and his contemporaries, all born in the same calendar year. The only person who, this is Mitra was born few years earlier. So all 93, 94. So it's not that that year was something special. Every year there would have been, even in the colonial times, that many good students. So India was slowly building up its capacity in from the beginning of 20th century, because these people graduated from the schools from 1910 onwards. So from 1910 to 1947, we are building up bright students. So clearly we had 300-400 science leaders by the time we got independent. So this is 1936, and this is Tej Bahadur Sapru in the convocation address of Punjab University. He says, Steel brothers have given a huge amount of money to Bhatnagar, and he gave all that money to the university, okay, to carry out research. Okay, research scholars could develop new processes for industrial utilization of Indian raw materials. If this is not Atmanirbharta, what else is Atmanirbharta? But this is Atmanirbharta, the money is being also paid by the researcher. Like first generated and then this thing. And this is Saha's appreciation of Bhatnagar. He says, you have hereby raised the status of university teachers in the estimation of public, because he gave all his money. Others were not contributing. And this is Bose with the industries ministers from the Congress governments in India. The only non-politician in this is Meghnad Saha. And this is a photograph taken in January of 1938 in Delhi. This again is from Saha's book, which came out in 2019. Okay, so Saha was not only networked in India, he became FRS 1927, and he had done his seminal work in 1920s, and he had gone and spoken about his seminal work in Europe. Okay, so he was very well networked, and he kept correspondence with all of them. Okay, so Bose, P.C. Ray, they were like his teachers, then these are his contemporaries. Okay, then he maintained correspondence with Millikan, Rutherford, Bohr, Schrodinger, Heisenberg. Oh, he maintained correspondence with all of them. When he was at Allahabad, Schrodinger came. Heisenberg also came to India in pre-independent India. Eddington also came to Allahabad. So he invited these people and so on and so forth. So he became close to Nehru when he was in Allahabad. If you go to Allahabad University, Anand Bhavan is only half a kilometer away. So he knew Nehru, he knew Rajendra Prasad and Bose from presidency days. Okay. Ashutosh Mukherjee had nurtured him. His son Shama Prasad Mukherjee was VC of Calcutta University when he was very young in the 1930s. In fact, when Saha comes back to Calcutta as a Palit professor, Shama Prasad Mukherjee is the VC of Calcutta University. So Tata was also known to him. People who wrote Tata Birla Plan, John Mathai and Dalal, okay, they were also in correspondence. Saha was in correspondence with everyone. So, okay, so what happens as the war starts? Okay, as I told you, Bhatnagar is moved to Calcutta, and on behalf of Board of Scientific and Industrial Research, Bhatnagar proposes the creation of National Physical Laboratory and National Chemical Laboratory. National Chemical Laboratory starters wanted it in Pune, so that went to Pune. NPL was supposed to be in Calcutta, but when the Japanese reached Burma, then they decided that they will move it to Delhi. That is how the NPL came to Delhi, and Saha was not happy with this decision. So, okay. So the symposium happened in 43, okay, and all these people were present in the symposium. Okay. And you see, Agarkar was the secretary, Sahib Singh Sokhi, Bhatnagar, Mitra, Mukherjee, all of them were there. Baba was also there. Either these people were there or they sent contributions which are read out there. Okay, and then they approached A.V. Hill, and A.V. Hill came to India. One, he was already keeping a tap on whether he can enlist the Indian scientists. The other reason was that he had a flatmate during his Cambridge days, year 1911. There was a Lahore boy, Sohanlal Bhatia, who was doing medicine there, and this guy was studying for his mathematical tripos, A.V. Hill. Later on, A.V. Hill, so Sohanlal Bhatia had come back to India and joined the Indian Medical Service and the army, etc., etc. He worked in Bombay for many years. He was the first Indian to be the dean of Grant Medical College. So when A.V. Hill comes to India, this guy, by that time, he was a major general, and he was the deputy in charge of the entire medical services on behalf of the army. He was a major general at that time. So he had kept him informed. So A.V. Hill also wanted to meet his friend. That is why he was keen and he arrived as soon as he was approached. So this is the Council of National Institute of Sciences, and you can again see this is the who's who's of India. Okay. And these are the people who wrote the plan for India. So what did they? So what did they discuss? They discussed how the wartime infrastructure in science and technology be assimilated for peacetime civilian organization, and what should be the overall organization of this National Research Council. Today's ANRF is not like that, what they had proposed. They wanted NRC should be packed with Indian scientists, and they also wanted the government of India to pick up the name, one of the names given by them. Okay, so that doesn't happen, but all the same, this council was to plan main lines of scientific research in accordance with the national needs. It was to ensure balanced development of all branches of science with minimum overlapping, and to advise and help relevant authority regarding training and supply of scientific personnel for pure and applied research. This was the task of the National Research Council. ANRF doesn't have any different agenda. Okay, so it was to have 4 boards of research: scientific research, agricultural research, this medical and public health, engineering research, and so on and so forth. So whatever they recommended, it was not left to them. They circulated to all the scientists in India and all the science academies. In fact, for the next 3 years, all the science academies held their annual meetings together so that they can really assimilate and prepare themselves for implementing as and when the Sarkar will let them implement. So this is Bhatnagar, okay, address. He says, increase in food production involves fertilizer. Development of fertilizer has to be a priority. Fuel and power are necessary for accelerating industrialization. India would need shipbuilding, automobile, and other transport industries. We should have chemical industry, and we should have banking organizations ought to be streamlined. If we have to implement the agenda of development of India.
Atomic energy was not still.
No atomic energy. Atomic energy, this is 43. Atomic energy, Bhabha writes his first letter to GRD Tata in August of 43, proposing TIFR. So he does talk of this thing, but it is not. You see, what is the task given to Bhabha? Task given to Bhabha. This is Bhabha. Allocation of scientific research to the universities. This is the agenda assigned by Saha to Bhabha. Okay, he himself says, Saha has basic principles of organization of scientific research. Okay, and Bhabha is this, and Bhatnagar is this, organization of scientific and industrial research in India. Okay, so you can see, so there's 24 contributions, including this thing, non-official scientific institutions, like IACS, Tata Memorial Hospital, Indian Statistical Institute. These are already non-government, this Bose Institute. Okay, so our friend A.V. Hill assimilated everything. Okay, and this is another of speeches of Bhatnagar. He says, it is abundantly clear that scientific and industrial research will have to be subsidized and encouraged by the state and the people on a very large scale. The ideals of industry and science are therefore really identical, and both are and should be the servants of the people, and gain for self should be incidental in the process. He says purpose of industry is not to import things and do this thing. He says we must not forget that only those nations will have a chance of survival who can not only produce and manufacture on a large scale, but who are also able to harness science and research in an all-out effort to improve quality and introduce new ideas and features in the products that they will manufacture. This is what is meant to be accelerated in the Amrit Kal. But this is all stated 43. Okay, so this is A.V. Hill report. It has 24 chapters. Okay, and you can see everything is covered. So medical research, research background in medical education. All India Medical Center, medical research. So this is all that Sohanlal Bhatia's influence on A.V. Hill. Okay, then statistics and population, agricultural research, technology, scientific research by industry, meteorology, scientific instruments and equipment. If you name it, there is a chapter on each of these things in the A.V. Hill report. There is also scientific research in Indian universities. This was Bhabha's contribution. And Bhabha had consulted A.V. Hill during his 4-month stay many times. And the letter that Bhabha wrote to this Dorabji Tata to Saklatwala, if you read that letter, A.V. Hill figures in that letter 4 times. Anyway, so in addition to this longish report, he made specific recommendations. And these are his specific recommendations. First was create an Indian overseas fellowship scheme for training abroad. For many years, as the war started, nobody was able to go abroad. So there was a lot of backlog. And A.V. Hill figured it out that the government of India, British government had a lot of debt that it owed to the colonial government in India because they were taking goods from India. So in that balance of books, there was a lot of surplus. So he says, send people abroad on a fully paid fellowships. And that actually happened. Kurian went on that fellowship. So at least we got a white revolution after he came back. Brahm Prakash went on that fellowship. That is how we got the uranium fuel for the atomic energy. Satish Dhawan, he also went an overseas fellowship. He returned to IISc and later on went on to become the first chairman of the Space Commission. Gurbakh Singh, first VC of Central University of Hyderabad. He also went an overseas fellowship. Hargobind Khurana also went on overseas fellowship. So this first recommendation of A.V. Hill got us many people who helped develop and build independent India. So, okay. So he says, agriculture is India's most popular industry. It's an agricultural country, right? Unless the agricultural income enhances, nobody will buy British goods, nobody will buy Indian goods if they are manufactured in India. So agriculture has to be encouraged more than what it was being done at that time. He says, we have a long coastline and people eat seafood. So fisheries research has to be strengthened. It is a staple food for a very large number of population. So this also has to be brought in, like an agricultural industry. Then he says water, power, CSIR should be expanded. There should be synergy between CSIR and industrial houses. National Metallurgical Lab is at Jaipur, is at Jamshedpur, because Tata Steel was close by. NCL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited. This now it is a CSR lab, but at that time it wasn't. It was a private lab. So then it says India needs first quality brains trained in atmosphere of original research and practical experience. So we should plan IIT-like institutes. This is also one of the recommendations of A.V. Hill. Okay, then meteorological research, Institute for Instrumentation. Expand defense research, and India would need to attend to its defense requirements on its own. NRC, anyway, I told you. Provide financial assistance to National Institute of Sciences. All the science academies, like engineering academies, everything have to be sustained by the Sarkar. It's Sarkar's responsibility to sustain all these things. Okay, create departments of biological sciences and earth sciences in the universities. Okay, and facilitate institutes like IACS, Bose Institute, blah, blah, blah. And this I have told you, A.V. Hill stated, October 29, 1944, disaster lies ahead if India's industrial development and national welfare are not immediately attended to. So Homi Bhabha of agricultural research in India, okay, is B.P. Paul. He was born in Punjab, but educated in Rangoon, where his father was a medical officer. And his Punjabi name was Brahmadat Paul. Later on, his Christian name is Benjamin Pierre Paul. But okay, so he is the guy. Okay, and this is Swaminathan saying. He says, B.P. Paul shaped the course of Indian agricultural research for over three decades and designed instruments for achieving interdisciplinary and interinstitutional cooperation in basic and applied sciences. Again, Swaminathan says he ranks amongst the most eminent biological scientists India has produced. And Borlaug said, it was during Paul's leadership that agroeconomic research equaled the best in the world, and he was truly the architect of India's Green Revolution. And B.P. Paul used to say, India needs not just agricultural education, but education for agriculture, which the political leadership doesn't have. So what happens after 44? There is a Tata Birla plan, and there is a Sargent Committee report to revamp education. AICTE comes up. Nalini Ranjan Sarkar, how to create IITs. Bhore Committee, how to improve public health, create this institutions like AIMS. After independence, Bhatnagar is the first secretary at higher education. He takes over from Sargent. 48, Radhakrishnan heads the University Education Commission, of which Saha is an important member. Then UGC is created with Bhatnagar as the first chairman in 53. We get this act in 56. And second education commission is headed by Kothari. Kothari was a student of Saha at Allahabad, and Saha had sent Kothari to do a PhD with Rutherford in 1930s. So Rutherford passed away in 1937, but before that, Kothari had gone. done his PhD, come back, and he was employed as a professor in Delhi University. Professor.
I'm surprised that Sarabhai does not appear in these.
See, Sarabhai was a student at IISc, and Sarabhai created PRL in 1948, and PRL was also supported from the funding provided by Bhatnagar through CSR, and Bhatnagar was present when when PRL was inaugurated in 48. I have a picture of it somewhere.
So he's too young still.
Yeah. So, okay, so the Sargent Committee report, he said financial assistance be given to the university as a block grant for a number of years to enable university to plan ahead. It is Sargent Committee which said that there should be a university grants committee and how the grant should be given. Everything is there in the Sargent Committee. We have just implemented it over 75 years. And it has took us, we could implement it only gradually. So this is the Sarkar Committee. Sarkar Committee had said you require 3 crore rupees to create an IIT in 1946. Today that 3 crores is 1,000 crores. After you create an IIT, you need to run an IIT, you need 68 lakhs and you can only generate 10 lakh rupees as an income. So to create an IIT, you need 3 crore rupees, but you run an IIT, you need 20% of that 3 crores every year. So if you need 1,000 crores to create an IIT, 1/5 of it is 200 crores. That is why you need 200 crores just to pay for the salaries and little bit of infrastructure of the IITs. You cannot generate that much of money from fees. That can be done only by the private sector. State cannot charge that much of a fees. So Radhakrishnan said, university teachers should be helped to live in comfort if a teacher is to devote to teaching, learning and research. And that is why Bhatnagar, as chairman UGC, before even the commission met, he enhanced the salaries of all teachers in India by 25%. And he didn't do a great favor to them. He just brought the salaries of all teachers in India, what the professors in Lahore used to get. And Punjab was the best paymaster even before independence because agricultural economy, they had little bit more income. Education was expanding rapidly there. And university's income was only from the examination fee. The more people will go to schools and colleges, there will be more income with the university which they can distribute. And Punjab University had actually increased the examination fee by 15% all across the board just to enhance the salaries of the teachers at Lahore. Other states could not do it because we didn't have that kind of a uniformity of salaries in the universities of India. All this happens only after the UGC comes into being, etc., etc. So fine, TIFR was helped by Bhatnagar, we all know. TIFR became a national center for nuclear science, again because of Bhatnagar. Actually, there were many competitors for nuclear research. Saha wanted nuclear research in Calcutta. Raman also wanted a nuclear research in IISc Bangalore. Raman had sent R.S. Krishnan, not the K.S. Krishnan of Raman effect. He had sent R.S. Krishnan to study, to get a second PhD from Cambridge in nuclear physics. So he was also competing. So long story, but Bhatnagar favored Bhabha, and later on when Nehru inducted PMS Blackett as his advisor, then it became Bhatnagar, Blackett and Bhabha together. And this is how TIFR's cosmic ray research, particle physics research, nuclear energy research took a little while. The Department of Atomic Energy happened only in 1954. And that is how, when the budget started to come to Department of Atomic Energy, independent of the CSR, and TIFR became a cradle of atomic energy program. And luckily, it continues today. We are still a favored institute of atomic energy. 54. Atomic Energy Commission is 1948. And the 3 members of that secret commission were Bhatnagar, K.S. Krishnan, and Bhabha. They kept Saha and Raman out of it. They kept the competitors out of it. Anyway, let's forget that. So anyway, so this is Bhatnagar delivering the speech on 1st of January 1954. Okay, Saha was not there. Okay, Saha was not there on first this thing. In fact, Government of India instituted Padma awardees in the 1954. C.V. Raman was Bharat Ratna. S.N. Bose was Padma Vibhushan. Bhatnagar was Padma Bhushan. Mahalanobis was Padma Bhushan, etc., etc. Saha received nothing. But Saha passed away in 56. And Bhatnagar anyway passed away on 1st of January 1955. After that, the J.C. Ghosh, who was a director of IISc, he was taken away to create IIT Kharagpur. Then he became VC of Calcutta University. And once Bhatnagar passed away, J.C. Ghosh arrives in Delhi as an advisor to Nehru on Planning Commission and so on and so forth. Once Saha passes away, then Mahalanobis arrives in Delhi to write the second 5-year plan. Okay, so these are the defense research. First advisor was Kothari, second advisor was the last student of Raman in Calcutta, Bhagwantam, who was later on also director of IISc Bangalore. And after that, you can see Nag Chaudhary, again a student of Saha, who was the scientific advisor. Then it was M.G.K. Menon, then it is Ramanna, this is Arunachala. So you can see, so same school, same Gharana. Okay, so this is Saha. He said it is necessary that scientific men in India should try to impress upon the government, the states and the public bodies the need for encouragement of scientific research and the scientific handling of economic and industrial problems of the country. We must train the coming generations for the services of the community in scientific studies and research. And for this very purpose, this 2-day meeting happened on 20th and 21st of April in Bangalore. Okay, now how to operationalize ANRF in the present circumstances? So the first step was recognize the present gaps and challenges in Indian universities. The second one is connecting universities with other stakeholders. The third one is, okay, ease of doing science in India. There are difficulties of doing science in India 75 years after the independence of India. Then there is ANRF and its general operations. So this is 4 teams. So 50 odd people were called. Okay. And lots of people, everybody was given 5 minutes each. And some agenda is assigned. You have an assigned agenda. You have to speak for 5 minutes each. Then you get together, discuss, then you make recommendations. And at the end of the 2 days, actual recommendations have been agreed upon, which will be summed up by the president of the Science Academy, distributed to all participants, distributed to fellows of all science and engineering academies of India, and then presented to Government of India for operationalizing. So, since they are not yet public, I have not put it in black and white, but I am not hesitant to convey some of those things because they are important. So so the 2 of us had this responsibility. Shashi Dhara, the director NCBS, and I had the responsibility of running this present gaps and challenges in Indian universities. So what is the gap? See, we created universities, we expanded universities, we supported universities, created centers of advanced studies, special assistance program, FACE program, this, that, and so on. So we kept on doing it for 60 years. Then suddenly we put a break on it. And we stopped recruiting faculties. We are not even filling up positions in the universities, particularly in the state universities. More than half the teaching positions in the state universities are vacant. More than half teaching positions in the postgraduate colleges are vacant. So biggest gap is the teaching load on the teachers have become so large that they have no time for research. So how will you induct them for the national initiatives that are doing? Some of the national initiatives can be filled up by specializing. Atomic energy can take some load, CSIR can take some load. Little bit of specialized things can be done it. But you cannot involve everyone unless you enable everyone to participate. So lot of out-of-box suggestions have been given. Like, if the government is serious about implementing this, the central government must fill up all the vacant positions in all centrally funded institutions in next 2 years. Then we are saying NEP. NEP means at the end of 4 years, after the 4 years of expanded education, you can enroll for a PhD. The number of people wanting to do PhD is going to enhance. Okay. So, in order to train them, you need more people. You will need more teachers, more researchers. So, first fill up positions and then enhance positions, at least by 25% before the end of the next 5-year period. Because if you want to implement everything by 2047, so unless you kickstart it and put some more resource in it, how will anything happen over the next 15 years? So this is one of the major recommendations. Second, how do you enable people to remain engaged in research, particularly from postgraduate colleges and so on and so forth? So one of the key recommendations is after every 5 semesters of teaching, persons who are engaged in teaching to large extent, they must be given 1 teaching semester off so that they can participate in some research, okay, by aligning themselves with this thing. And the salary of a leave vacancy teacher should come out of a national budget. Only then, somebody doesn't do anything, he can only cheat once, because when it comes to next cycle, and if he hasn't done anything and there is nothing to show, one can set up an assessment procedures, and in that the science academies blah 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 can help. Assessment procedures can be done. Even today, if somebody wants to go from a JRF to SRF, some fellow of the academy has to be a member of that committee. So things can be worked out. So give everybody 1 semester off in teaching after 5 semesters of teaching. Anyone who has a research funding for a 2-3 year period, that research funding when it ends, but people have to write a report, they have to also write another proposal for the next report, etc., etc. So every research proposal sanctioned by the Government of India must have salary of a substitute teacher for a period of 4 months. You have a proposal, whatever you are asking, add to it 3 or 4 lakh rupees. And this will go to hiring a substitute teacher for the PI. So the PI can complete the project and write the other project. Number of PhD fellowships should be minimum and asked by a factor of 3. Number of postdoctoral positions should be, in India, should be about 1/3 of the PhD fellowships. If today 6,000 fellowships are given in a year, this number must become 18,000, and this should happen over next 2 years. And 5,000 postdoctoral positions, minimum, should be created in all domains. It's not a very large number. After all, we have 300 universities in India, 700 private universities in India. So for 1,000 universities in India, what is 5,000 postdoctoral fellowship? Not very great. If you want these people who have got their PhDs, they must grow to be independent researchers, should be able to do something challenging. And postdoctoral fellowship should not be terminating at 3 years. It should be 3 + 2, 5 years. So, ease of doing science. Right now, some money is sanctioned, but the funding agency doesn't release the money. Scholarship is sanctioned. Funding agency does not release the scholarship. No, government says they take loan to give you the money. So government should involve a bank. If you have sanctioned a project, let a bank advance the money. And bank will recover the money from the government. Because anyway, government is also taking a loan from the bank to give it to us. And whatever is the bank interest, that is overhead charges on the delay that the government causes in giving you the money. So once a project starts, it should not be stopped. And if the project involves buying equipment, this and that, all that money should be given, right in the first instance. No gradual release of money. If you want to buy an instrument which costs 2 crore rupees or 3 crore rupees, and the total project money is 4 crore, release the money upfront. Otherwise, this cannot be done. So lots and lots of suggestions have been made by the teacher scientists of India how to ease the conduct of research. Yeah, the point is that it is not that the scientists have gone to the government. Government has reached to the scientists saying we have a new act, we have a new ambition for the nation. Give us an algorithm so that things that we are on target by 2047. So here are the suggestions, very detailed ones, the kind of details that were given to the colonial government in 1943. Once again, something has been given, but what we have done in 2 days time is a small contribution. You can reach out to larger bodies, okay, and have more suggestions, mull over it for 6 months period, and then start implementing whatever we wish to implement. So, yeah. Thank you.
That the initial days, like 40 and so, I mean, really the good academicians, they were essentially part of the decision-making body. But I mean, now it's.
Hello, it's not that. Look at the DST secretaries over last 15 years. They're all very eminent scientists, okay? If Ram Murthy was a DST secretary, Vijay was a DST secretary, Ashutosh was a DST secretary, even present DST secretary is a very eminent person. Karandikar.
I was talking about.
Look at the scientific advisors to the Prime Minister. If it was Chidambaram, after Chidambaram it was K. Vijayaraghavan, now it is Ajay. So all these are the top scientists of the country. It is not that the government is not engaging with the top scientists of the country. They are engaging with the top scientists of the country, but not going out to science academies in an open manner.
Okay.
And getting the things, narrow down the path through which the advice comes to you. Make it broad-based. See, PSA's office doesn't have an authority or doesn't have the freedom that he goes around various institutions.
Actually, that is the point which I was trying to say. Actually, I mean, we do have people, I mean, they're very eminent and so on, who could really do or make a huge change. But I mean, when the real decision comes from the board, I mean, where it is made at the top level, I'm not sure how much the academicians are representing.
See, look, they reached out to 50 of us. Okay, let's just start. And you can see that these are people from the universities, small universities, big universities.
But I mean, okay, my comment was related to that. For example, you make a recommendation, which I mean sounded really great. But the question is that if you want to implement it, I mean, how much or in which way?
Let's hope that they mean what they are saying. See, nobody asked them to come to the science academies.
No,
when I received a mail 4 weeks ago, it was a surprise to me. When I reached there and I found the Umesh Wagmarve, the president of the academy, he had done so much of homework, right? It is he who has drawn up the entire matrix, who assigned these topics, this, that, and so on. So he has done a huge amount of work. So we find that our president is serious about the task assigned to him.
Not only that, Arun, you can only proceed in good faith.
Yeah.
See, if they have reached out, there is nothing.
In that respect, you only proceed on good faith that you have been given some task. You try to do as best as you can, and something which is not in your control, there is nothing you can do about it. Just keep reaching out.
See, I had sought this colloquium from Satya 4 months ago. So the point is that as the time advanced, And I got this invite to participate in this meeting. So I have comprehended it in this way today. That is why I wrote another comprehension.
The last point. I just tried to say, for example, Meghnad Saha, he was an MP. So, I mean, he had direct access to the Prime Minister, or, I mean,
He was an MP, independent MP, and he was all the time having a running battle with Nehru as a Prime Minister.
I know. Yeah. That's true.
And after Meghnad Saha, no scientist has made it to the Lok Sabha. All the other scientists in the parliament have been Rajya Sabha members. Only, and most of them only but for MGK Menon, who got elected from the Rajasthan Assembly. All others have been nominated members.
But now there is anybody in Rajya Sabha or something?
No, not a single scientist is there in the Rajya Sabha.
So now there is nobody.
Now they have put these vice chancellors of private universities as nominated. Yes.
Can you?
So Professor Groh, firstly, thank you for a very illuminating talk. One aspect which I just wanted to know more about perhaps was that in the Bangalore conference which you mentioned,
Yes.
was there also some sort of brainstorming or thinking on the educational institutes, especially the fundamental research institute like ours, requiring a separate kind of flavor or brand of
See, the point is a task assigned to
Yeah.
brainstorming. You know, the Government of India asked, it says, strengthening R&D in science and technology in Indian universities and colleges. So, we had to remain targeted to that. If they will improve that, rest of it will anyway improve.
The point I was coming to was that even at whatever little one has read about Bhatnagar and Homi Baba, they themselves have gone record to say that the administration of these such institutes has to be of a different kind
Yes, sure.
than what is required for maybe,
So that is why ease of doing science. They are very detailed. My email ID is arunkgrover@gmail.com. I will send you the recommendations on ease of doing science, which covers all those things that you are asking me. I will share that with you because Sharmishta Banerjee shared it with us. I will forward you unhesitatingly. Send me an email, arunkgrover@gmail.com. Yes.
Yeah. So this is about this good faith thing once more. So, it's great that your recommendations, of course, for example, about a large number of postdoctoral positions, essentially financed by the government, as it has been
And
happening.
released by the bank.
And all right, so that seems to be. So what I mean to say, this is very different from what's happening, on the ground now. I mean,
Yes.
there are institutions where the postdoctoral positions have been either severely limited, and they say that you can only hire postdocs from extramural grants.
No.
So that's right. I mean,
That is why I took you through the history.
right. So now
the point is,
So
you
how do you reconcile these things? What's happening on the ground and what's being?
it is not our ambition. It is the ambition of the Government of India, present or the future, that India has to be developed by 2047. India cannot be a developed nation. You cannot compete with China unless you commit yourself to policies specific to our system of working, but you have to commit resources. You have to do something which you have not been doing. Otherwise, we are shrinking over the last 15 years. Research in India is shrinking.
So why are all
It was shrinking even before the present government took over. Started to shrink in the second phase of the Manmohan Singh's this thing. Because the economy was shrinking, support to this was shrinking. And that shrinkage has continued. See, we created ISERs, we created newer IITs, we created NITs. Then we ran out of steam. AIMS, we created AIMS. Every state has an AIMS. So they have to be supported. If it costs 1,000 crore rupees to create an AIMS, You realize to run an AIIMS, you need 200 crore rupees every year to be given to this. That is why I took you to the history. If they haven't done the calculations, please go back and look at the calculations which were presented to you in the colonial times. 3 crores to create an IIT, 60 lakh rupees every year to run an IIT. So proportion remains the same. What did they say? Teacher to student ratio 1:15, 1:5 for undergraduate and postgraduate. Every damn thing is worked out in detail in the Sarkar committee report. So if you don't want to do exercises now, just go back and look at those exercises and appropriately renormalize those figures.
So my question was around similar lines about this shrinkage. Is there why is this? Is just because of the economy going down, but our economy has not gone down?
It's that the government is wanting to withdraw, state sector desires to withdraw from the education. They think that the private institution should take over. See, school education in India has shrunk, actually collapsed. Go to government school all across the country, in all states of India. Do middle classes send their children to government schools? Because government schools have become non-existent. You are not filling up teachers. Wherever you fill up teachers, there are these suspicions that there is this scam, that scam. Because teachers are needed in large number. When you have to induct teachers in large numbers, somehow in our system malpractices happen. So for fear of these malpractices, what have we done? We don't recruit teachers at all. So, but children have to be educated. So the private schools are filling up. Ill-equipped private schools are filling up those gaps. So whether now poorer sections will contribute, but Nagars and Sahas, that only time will tell. Maybe we will not be able to get Sahas and Bhatnagars who came from very poor backgrounds. Saha came from a poor background, but Nagar lost his father when he was 8 months old. So he studied all through on scholarships. Yes.
Teacher scientists in the context of ANRF, as well as when you talked about AV Hill's visit.
Because at that time,
was this an old term or is it a new term that is currently being coined? Because this is not heard very often.
I only have put in this. I put in this because there were no institutes at that time. Saha was a part of our university, Bhatnagar was a part of the university. Even Baba is in an Indian Institute of Science, right? It's an academic institution. So there is only Bose Institute, but Indian Association of Cultivation of Science, where Raman did all his work as a Palit professor. So that is just a small laboratory, central laboratory. But he is also a teacher scientist, he is a Palit professor. So I put it teacher scientist because today's all national labs are also deemed universities. So TIFR also are teacher scientists. It's just a distribution, how much of teaching, how much of a scientist. Even CSR labs, they have an academy. There also there are people who are designated as professors of CSR labs. Look at defense research. There also there are professors. So entire country's research fraternity is teacher scientists. I have been writing like this ever since I became a VC of Punjab University.
Yeah, thanks for that talk, Arun, which was really fascinating. I just wanted to, connect to the last thing you said about, shrinkage of investment and so on, and that if you, start an institute with this amount of money, you need to give 20% of it per year for running it. So in that context, I was just curious on the proposals that you all are putting forward now. How much, do you have an idea how much they cost, and how does it compare to the projected budget of NRF?
the projected budget of NRF 14,000 rupees will not do. Projected budget of NRF, it has whatever they are 14,000. No, we need at least 10 times that. It is 50,000 crores, 14,000 the government will give, 36,000 must come from the private sector. But it is only 50,000 crores. 50,000 crores is not adequate. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
I wanted to flag something which I'm not sure has reached the planners. There is an increasing trend to, ask undergraduates to do research. In many places, undergraduates in their final year are asked to do a semester of research. And even the new policy of UGC is that after 4 years, people will do research. At the same time, if you look at the ways the syllabuses and so on are being designed, students do 2 years, of general, they study many general things. My apprehension is that the training in the subject is going to be inadequate because they will essentially get 1 year or 1.5 years of training in the subject as compared to earlier people used to get 5 years of training in a subject before they got into research. So, we are talking about research, improving research and so on. But ultimately, what matters is how well people are trained for research. And that training, my apprehension, is going to be inadequate. And the result is that we will produce a lot of very substandard research. Already the situation is that students come to us, who are simply not prepared to do cutting-edge research. So I was wondering whether that had, this kind of thing had been flagged in the discussions you had.
No, we just assumed that government is wanting to implement 4 years. If not, there would 4 years thing would be implemented in most well-endowed colleges of India, like the constituent colleges of Delhi, St. Xavier's College of Bombay, Ruia College of Bombay, that well-endowed colleges, it will be implemented.
And then at the end of that, and this is what is happening on the ground.
We did not.
We are all aware of this.
See, we did not discuss this.
Okay, I understand. I just want to flag it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, I think we see no more questions. We are already at 5:30. So let us thank once again Prof. Grover for his fantastic talk. But I will take just 1 more minute. We have talked about Professor Grover's role and encouragement for ASSET particularly, and he himself talked about the fact about the ASSET running this special series during Baba Centenary Program, and there are many more things. It's not right time for me to kind of enumerate that, but we feel very proud today to present this 40 years of ASSET memento to Professor Grover, and we feel very honored.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, and for all your encouragement. And ASSET stands today at 40 largely because of your encouragement during that period, I think, which was a peak of ASSET operations. Thank you very much. Thanks. Please join for a cup of coffee. Yes.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Great talk, Arun. Are you still the lead?